Hey ho guys, it's me again. Hope you've all had a great weekend. The weather here at the moment is, it's like 23 or 24 Celsius today. And to all my Australian and even my Canadian friends, don't be laughing at the poor Irishman. We're not used to this heat. Give me rain or snow any day. But seriously, from one of my previous videos, you may remember that I started back into brewing, and I did two brews around the same time. I did that Mountains Bock beer kit, and I did an ESB all grain. The Mountains Bock beer kit had some issues in basically that I added too much water, and instead of 21 litres, I ended up with something like 26 or 26 and a half. I added like about 5.5 litres too much. I know where I made that mistake. Because of that, it was very diluted down, and it turned out, it wasn't a bad beer, but it turned out very I kegged that and I bottled the ESB, the idea being that I'd tip away with the Bock beer kit in the keg and leave the ESB to condition in the bottles. But because the Bock beer kit turned out the way it did, I was shying away from the keg and digging into the bottles because that ESB turned out pretty damn good. So there's over half that ESB gone already. It was very, very tasty, and it's going to one I'm going to be continuing to brew. So this past week anyway, on Friday, I decided that because I have only a small keg fridge and I can only fit one keg at a time in there, and because basically the Mountains Bock beer kit was in there, it was taking up space, I wasn't going to be going back to it. I dumped it. Friday just gone. It wasn't off, but it was just too. So what was the point? It was taking up space. The ESB, as I said, was going down so good that there's probably around 20 bottles left of that, and I said, right, I better get another brew on fast. I better brew that again. So what I decided to do on Friday was, as I said, I dumped the Bock beer kit. I said, right, I'm going to brew the ESB, but I'm going to brew a 40 litre batch, and I'm going to christen the new stainless steel FE. Okay. I made some changes to the recipe this time. Basically, the last ESB turned out fantastic, but I felt I would have preferred it to be a little bit darker. So to this one, I added some chocolate malt. I didn't use chocolate malt last time. I think I also upped the IBUs very, very slightly on this one, on the 40 litre batch, and I used some different hops. I'm going to put a link again to the same page on the Cellar Dweller website, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the link, you'll see the 40 litre brew that I did this last Friday just gone, and right above it then you'll see the previous ESB, and you can compare the differences and see the Brewday notes rather than me trying to ramble on and call them all out. So yeah, I hit all my numbers, everything turned out. This one, because it was such a large batch, I actually had to use my keg setup, which I haven't used since last year. But when I came back to brewing, I calibrated both the Pico boiler and the keg setup, and I ended up hitting all my numbers on Friday, so my calibration must have been correct. Beersmith was giving me a starting gravity of 1050. I hit 1055. That was the only thing that was out of whack. But that's only 5 points higher, and I'd rather be 5 points higher than 5 points lower, to be quite honest with you. So I'm getting there on dialing in efficiencies and all of that. Brew day went pretty smoothly. I got my 40 litres, as I said, at 1055. It's bubbling away in the FE in the other room. I'm going to stick up a short video clip of that at the end of this one. The last ESB I used Mangrove Jack's M03 dark ale yeast, and so with this one, what I did when I was bottling that one was I reclaimed the yeast and put it in a sanitized jar in the fridge, and I reused it on this brew. But when I took it out of the fridge, I actually put it in a lukewarm bath in the kitchen sink just to bring it more up to ambient temperature to try and prevent thermal shock rather than dumping it from really cold from the fridge straight into 20 plus degree worth. And that brings up the other point that I'm having at the moment with my brews. With this 40 litre ESB that I did actually end up pitching the Mangrove Jack's yeast at around 25C, which before you say it, I know is too high. However, I have to say, out of all the yeast I've used, I do find that the Mangrove Jacks can handle in the higher 20 degrees range without too many issues. But as I said, that brings up the other issue I'm having at the moment, in that the groundwater here at the moment is pretty warm. And I'm really struggling. I'm having some major issues to get my wort down below the 25 to 30 Celsius range. Because even if I leave it until the following day, because the ambient temperature is so warm here at the moment, it's not really dropping much below 25. So with my last few brews, I'm always pitching on the higher side. I can't really do much about that at the moment, so fingers crossed this one turns out as good as what the last one did. I mean, I figure if I get some off flavors or weird esters, it probably would suit the style anyway, being an English ale, hopefully. But as I said, that ESB, check the link I'm going to put down in the description section. You'll see the one that I did previous, and you'll see this one down at the bottom of the page. The Muntins Bock beer kit was a washout. I hadn't too much invested in it, so, you know, and there was no point in keeping it. It was taking up space. What was the other one I did? So I did that Bock beer kit and the first ESB. Then at the start of the month, around the 3rd, I actually did a killer cream ale, which is based off a recipe from Gas Slug on the Cellar Dweller website again, and I'll link that down below too. So I brewed that on the 3rd, I kegged that on Friday just gone, I carved it up over the weekend, had a couple of pints of it last night, and that turned out really well. It finished a little high at 10-14. I used a Nest 33 yeast on it. That may have been why. There is a touch too much residual sweetness, but my god, it's a cracking beer, and I highly recommend you try it. I think when I brew it again, I'm going to go for something like a more neutral yeast, like SO5, which is what Gas uses, and hopefully that'll drop the final gravity down. But even with all that, it still came out about 5.4%, which was a little higher than I would have liked. So I may look at reducing the ABV too on the next one. But it's a cracking brew. Definitely one I'm going to be brewing again. That's about it, guys. So as I said, I did that 40 litre brew on Friday. That's probably going to be my last brew now for a while, because I'm in the middle of looking for new digs. Time is running out now. We're down to the wire and all that jazz, and I really don't have any more time now to be brewing. I wanted to get that one in just before things got too manic, and you know, when I do eventually move into a new place, I won't be able to be brewing for a couple of weeks, maybe to a month, so I wanted something to keep me going, hence the reason I did that. That's about it anyway. I'm going to stick up a couple of pics and a short video clip at the end. The first one will be the first ESB I did, just a quick pic of that. The second picture I'll stick up is the Killer Cream Ale that I brewed. Check the link. And as I said, the second pic will be the Killer Cream Ale that I kegged over the weekend. And then I'll show you a short video clip of the Mangrove Yeast Jack in action on the 40 litre brew ESB that I just did. I'll talk to you again, guys. Have a great time. Slán go fóill.